Hey guys, I'm Matt and welcome to TurnerTek. This week we have some Raspberry Pi shenanigans building our very own homemade arcade machine. Let's jump right in. Today's video is brought to you by Baker Marketing Firm, but more on that in a bit. Okay, so like I said, this week we're going to have our very first Raspberry Pi shenanigan. You might ask where the Pi's at. It's actually built right into this custom built arcade controller. Yes, I said custom built. Me and a couple of my buddies, we built this ourselves. It was super easy to build. So we're going to start there with a breakdown of how this thing was built and how it works. Okay, so for our breakdown, it's actually very simple. We went off the plans from I Like to Make Stuff. If you've never watched his YouTube channel, go check it out. There's lots of good stuff on there, from arcade machines to RPG tabletops with built-in TVs and projectors, and he does all kinds of crazy stuff. He sells most of his plans though to what he makes on the YouTube videos, and that's what this is. So it's actually a much larger arcade, like hidden cabinet, but everything's kind of modular to the point that yes, this controller just came right out of it and it's sitting in front of me now, and everything I need to run the arcade is actually built into this thing. Included with his plans are all like the BOM list, like all the parts that you need to buy is included with his plans. The BOM list is actually free on the website, so a lot of the stuff I have in my kit you can find on the I Like to Make Stuff website. And this is actually the controller board here, the controls themselves. This is a default Amazon kit. So the link is in that BOM list, but it changed a lot. So if you look for a 4-player arcade kit, it comes with everything you need. It comes with all the buttons, it comes with little joysticks. These are lit up buttons. They came like that in the kit. So it's obviously like a beginner's level arcade kit. It's not, these buttons are nothing to write home about. They're not proper arcade buttons. They're actually like keyboard key switches in there. They're not even Gatorons though. But as you can hear though, you probably can hear me clicking these. They're really clicky, it's super satisfying. The people that we built this for, they're teenagers, they love playing on this thing. You really have that feel, as you can hear, even the joysticks are super clicky. The joysticks are actually not bad from it. They're very proper arcadey. It's just the tops in this kit. I need to get new joystick tops. These ones are, I like the more round joystick toppers, but this kit is not too bad. These buttons here, we wanted some special program buttons. This is a little upgrade we did ourselves. So we got these cool looking RGB ones on it. But yeah, that's just all one kit that you can buy on Amazon. And also on it, there is the whole controller board for it. So the USB controller, all the different button ports are on it, the light ports are on it. That all comes in the box. So literally in one box, everything you need for the controls themselves are included. And last but not least, there's actually only one more part, and that is the heart of it. It's actually sitting right here underneath, and this controller is our Raspberry Pi 4B. It's mounted right up underneath here. All 4 controllers just have USB that go into the 4 USB ports of it. I have an HDMI dongle coming out of the back of the Raspberry Pi and the power coming out of the Pi, and that's it. Literally the way this thing's set up, there's 2 wires coming out of the back, and it is an arcade machine. Okay, so now we want to kind of demo it for you, show what software we run on it. I'll probably talk about a couple other softwares you can try. I actually have another device I'll pull out here that is a Pi-driven device that runs a different software on it that you can run for this as well. But without further ado, we're going to hook this thing up and we're going to get started. Are you struggling to market your company or personal brand, or to utilize the powerful yet complicated tool of social media? Baker Marketing Firm is here to help you harness the power of social media to its highest extent. They will help you create a professional image for your company or personal brand. If you would like to learn more on how Baker Marketing Firm can help you create custom success, click the link in the description below. Okay guys, we have this set up in kind of a temporary setup here outside of its arcade machine. As you can tell how wide this is, like you see here, you can only see these 2 controllers. We can't even see all 4 of the controls. This is actually not a standard arcade box that these plans were. It actually looks like just like a normal like credenza cabinet that the top opens up and this thing's inside. If we're able to get some B-roll before this airs, we might include that here. I'm not sure if that will be there or not, but yeah, it's kind of like a hidden arcade. So what I did to film here is we just put a normal monitor on it, 'cause once again, I don't know how much I'm blocking here, but it's There's just literally this HDMI pigtail coming out the end of it, and then there's just the power cord coming out the end. That's all there is. The Raspberry Pi's underneath. So this is actually like an all-in-one arcade, just this. So we are able to just take a normal monitor, plug up to it, and use it. So HD is the recommended monitor if you're going with a monitor, or TVs, it doesn't really matter. I had this on my 4K port though, and it didn't like it at first. I had to switch over to the HD port on this monitor. So if you're going to run this setup using a normal computer monitor, you might want to remember that. Once again, TVs, I've had zero issues on TVs. We use a giant 4K TV for this thing where it's set up. So yeah, there's no problems there. So we're running Recallbox is what we're running on this arcade machine. I like Recallbox because of this, the way it looks. This one's actually pretty simple right now. We just did a fresh setup of this guy. So as you notice, there's no screenshots, no favorites, but we do have some stuff installed in the main. So basically you just go up and down through all your different consoles, and whatever consoles you have installed will be over here. So like you have SNES ROMs, it will show SNES over here. We actually have it set up through just the settings that you can hide anything that you don't have ROMs in it for right now. But on the main, so we're just gonna go there, we're gonna select it, and now we can go through our different games here, and it actually shows you the game. This is why I use this. It shows you previews of gameplay. This is awesome. Recallbox, to me, if you're running it as an arcade machine, this is the best to use because it just feels so like I'm walking up to a multi-emulator to use it, right? It's not like it's like a little app on my computer or it's a handheld device. This feels like I'm on a more full-fledged arcade machine. So yeah, we can literally just go through the different ones. As you can see, they're all gorgeous. We can select them to play them. Okay, so as you can see, it loads up just like you're booting the actual arcade cabinet. They have this cool theming on there that make you feel like you're on the arcade cabinet. Super awesome. Just, I have the audio turned off to the rights and stuff. I don't want to, get copyright hit on anything, but yeah, it just loads the game up. You pre-program your buttons in the settings. I'll dive into that here in a second. That's the one weird thing. So like if you're used to like say this game, Turtles in Time, it's like you've played this as a kid and you know how the controls are. The controls might be a little different because you basically have within Recallbox your SNES layout and how you're going to put those buttons programmed. So it's not like you're actually programming the individual arcade buttons. So, and I say it that way because if you use MAME emulation before, like on a PC desktop, you'll have like all the settings within MAME itself, and you don't on something like this. So I just wanted to give that little warning. Here's another cool thing. So when you get in the game, how do you get out of it? Because obviously this arcade's loaded. All we're going to do is hit the hotkey, and then we're going to press it again to quit. Okay, and as you see, now we're back here to the MAME emulator. So we're going to go back to the main Recallbox desktop here, I guess you could call this. So that we can go here, we'll hit start to go to menu, and we're going to dive into some of these menu settings. You might see the Kodi Media Center here. I'm not going to talk about that really in this. It's kind of like Plex. So if you have some like media hosting you're doing on your local network, you can share that to here. The system settings are pretty basic. It's kind of more informational if anything else. You can run updates from this guy. You can look at your different game settings. So just like aspect ratios and all that type of stuff on here. I don't mess with much with this. My experience has been pretty much everything the way it's set by default works. So I really have never needed to mess with game settings. Controller settings though, this is really important here. This is awesome. For USB stuff, complete auto detect. And yeah, I know it says generic here and everything. It knows all of this. It sees all these buttons, the joysticks, it's amazing. The only thing you need to do is configure though. So configure controller, we'll hit yes. I'm gonna go ahead and I guess I'll do this one here. Let's see, I have to hold this, that's right. So there we go. So gamepad number 4 is what this one is. And actually, that's kind of funny to me. This is not supposed to be gamepad number 4. So I must have got my USB turned around on there, but that's okay. So all we need to do is literally, we're just going to do our up, our down, our left, our right. Now, we don't have any of those. So we're just going to literally skip those joysticks. There we go. I needed to go to another controller, skip them. And then we're going to just program our ABXY. So we're literally going to program, how I did it is I have these 4 here and I just kind of in my mind turn them up. So if that's A, I'm going to do A and then B and then X and then Y. And then I have my start and my select. Then I do L1, R1, and then I don't do those guys. So we do need a hotkey. I don't do L2, R2 or any of those because the way we're set up is only on an 8-button configuration. We did it that way because most arcade games and video games that a Raspberry Pi can actually run only needs this many buttons. So that's why we went with this configuration. So our hotkey, we're going to make that our select key is our hotkey. So there you go, button 5 pressed. And then we can hit OK, and there we go. We are done. So controller's joystick number 4 apparently has now been programmed. So, and as you can see, I'll use it here. Everything works just as it did before we did anything. So just showing you that there, it's pretty simple to use this guy. There's some UI settings. You can change the way things look and stuff, the theme and all that if you want to get into that stuff. I like the default theme, but installing themes is really simple. You just drop them to a folder on the Pi. And then install ROMs is the same thing. And that there actually, I'll talk about that here for a second. I'll show some B-roll here of that actually being done. But dropping ROMs is super ultra simple. You literally take the SD card out of the Pi, you stick it in your computer, and then you go to the ROMs folder and you drop the ROMs in it. That's it. The ROMs folder literally has the different system consoles. You just drop the ROM in the appropriate console and then it will appear over here. That's all you do. Once again, another reason why I like Recallbox.
Okay guys, I think before we jump into actually the use of the arcade machine and kind of previewing how my specific build works, and I use Recallbox of course, I'll talk about the different softwares you can use later as well. I just wanted to show how to actually set up Recallbox. I know we weren't able to really show the build of the hardware. That machine actually was built quite a while ago. We just updated it to the Raspberry Pi 4 from the Pi 400. The Pi 400 just didn't really have all the USB and stuff that I needed. I'll talk more about that later. But like I said, the kit is rather easy to build. It's just that kit from Amazon. It's just all the buttons you need. And then the I Like to Make Stuff build, I'll link in the description below so that you guys can get access to the plans I used, and even the template for like how I built that controller board specifically. That is in the I Like to Build Stuff plans. They're very inexpensive. You don't have to go with that. You can actually get a controller already pre-built. That's just like one USB cord that you plug into the Raspberry Pi. There's so many options. And as you can see here, this whole time I've been talking, I have the Recallbox website opened up in front of me here. Recallbox actually has some of their own hardware that you can buy. They have all-in-one solutions. So if you're really not interested in like doing everything DIY and you guys kind of want it turnkey, you can get that here from Recallbox. So they have a whole bunch of different options. I'm not going to go through all that though, because once again, my build is a custom build that's built on a Raspberry Pi. So it's pretty straightforward actually. So we're just going to go to the download link here. And as you can see, it actually has Recallbox for several different types of systems. I'm actually, later on in the video, I'll be showing off a RetroPie handheld that I have. A Pi DMG. I'm actually thinking about trying Recallbox on it. I run something else. I'll talk about that later. But here, so all we're going to do is select Raspberry Pi here, and then literally you just pick the Pi that you have. So ours is a Pi 4 or Pi 400. So we'll click on this, and then you're just going to download the Pi imager that you have. So I'm on Windows here. I actually set this up originally on Mac, but I'm just going to download the Windows link here, let that download, and then we're going to open this on up. Okay, and so we're just going to install the Pi imager here. Everything's pretty simple, pretty straightforward in these builds. We're going to hit finish. And then it's literally going to open up this little utility here. And you're literally going to choose which Pi you have. So once again, we have the Pi 4. And we're going to choose our OS. So this will have all your default Pi OSs in there. but it's also going to have emulation in Game OS, and right here they all are. And this is pretty impressive to me too, by the way. This is from Recallbox, right? Like, they could have messed with this installer and what's available in it. They literally left other competitors in there. So I just really like to see when there's a community that isn't you know, just about self-promotion. It's about just equipping gamers to be able to game, you know, to be able to find a solution that works for you. So it's actually pretty cool. This one download from Recallbox gives you 3 different options that you can play with and try. They each have their own strengths. And once again, I talk about this later. The only one I actually don't talk about later is Laka. It has its pros and cons. I'm not going to spend time now on that. You can look that up on your own, but I talk about RetroPie and stuff later. So for this purpose of this here, we have Recallbox. We're going to pick this. Once again, the Pi 400 one. And then you literally just choose your storage drive, which I'll be right back. Okay guys, sorry about that. I didn't realize my SD card reader wasn't plugged in. So on storage, we're going to do this. We're going to select our device. We're going to click next. It's going to ask you about this. It's going to let you know that anything that's on this will be erased. And of course, that's okay. Yes, we will continue. And then it's going to write to this thing. And we'll be right back. Okay guys, we just hit 75% here, so we're almost done. And I know that the video was sped up there, but it actually doesn't take that long. It's less than 5 minutes to install here. And this is on a really large disk too. This image isn't big, but this is writing to a 250 something, 55 gig, I believe, 260 gig, something like that, SD card. And yeah, it still went this quick. So it's not a really long process. And it's going to come turnkey, ready to go. You're just going to slap this guy in your Raspberry Pi, and it will be ready to run. So, yeah, it does this verify thing. This is just making sure it's checking all the install files and the OS and stuff, making sure everything's going to run okay. It's just it has some files there that it can use for checking to make sure everything is verifying it's all okay. So we'll just fast forward to this part, and then we can finish this part up. Okay, and now we're finalizing here, and you may have just saw pop up there that Recallbox has just mounted, so the write was successful. We'll hit continue here, and that's basically all she wrote. So as you can see, like, we can go back in to do another, we can go back here and do another device right away, like it's all done. The Raspberry Pi is ready to go. You should unmount this from your system. Actually, it already is unmounted, that's right. So we are actually literally ready to go. The SD card on my reader, you can't see it, but the light's already off because this card has been ejected. This thing is ready to be put right into the Raspberry Pi and start rocking and rolling. The install I just did is not the install you're about to see. The install that you're about to see is my normal install, but there is no difference, just the normal install I have. I already have some of my settings done, controllers programmed, and some games installed. So without further ado, we're going to jump back into the studio then and take a look at the Recallbox OS, talk about other options, and kind of show you some of the basics of using Recallbox. Okay guys, one last thing, and I almost forgot about this. So yes, once you're done installing it, quote unquote installing, it's going to auto eject it for you to put into your Raspberry Pi. Once you do that, Recallbox will do an auto setup. So I'm not going to show that on screen because there is nothing to show. It asks you no questions. It's just fully automated, and then you end up on the Recallbox like main screen, which you'll see here in a minute. What I did want to show you here though is how you install games. So, because that's going to be the big thing, is so you have this arcade now, but how do you get games? There are many ways to do this. I think the most user-friendly and simple way is shut down whatever your Raspberry Pi is that you're running, like you know, whether it's a handheld or like, you know, what we're doing here with this arcade machine. Whatever you need to do to boot it off, even if it's just unplugging it, do that. Take the SD card out, put it back in your computer. Then you're going to have a couple of different things pop up on your computer, and this works on Mac and PC. But you're going to have these two folders here, Recallbox, which this is like This is kind of like the system stuff for Recallbox. And then you're going to have this share, and this is where like all the stuff goes, right? Like you can even get different themes and stuff for it and everything. But you'll notice this folder called ROMs. And what do you know? Look at that. Every game console it supports, there's already a folder here for it. Every single one it supports. There's Sega 32X, Saturn, there's a Teleview. Let's see here. What else do we got? We got Neo Geo, N64, NES. Let's see here. There's definitely is SNES, but yep, right there it is. Right there, SNES. So all the stuff that this supports, Recallbox supports, they are all in here. You'll notice all the Ataris. There was an Apple II GS. You know, everything is here. So literally all you do, so let's go to NES. So now that we're in the NES folder, you're just going to drop your ROMs right in here, guys. Yeah, that's literally it. No need to create other folders, wherever, you just literally drop them in here. It's that simple. Now let's talk about the ROMs themselves for a minute. I learned this the hard way. I downloaded this massive set of ROMs. It took forever to get them, and then none of them will work. And I was super frustrated. I thought, what have I done wrong? Is Recallbox terrible? Blah, 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 blah. You know, and you just face it too. It's always frustrating that moment because you've done all your research and you know, wait, this is good. So then you have this moment where it's like, okay, so the problem has to be me and not it because everyone wanted to tell me to use it. If so, that's when I discovered headered versus headerless ROMs. So I'm going to actually make this easy for you. Instead of needing to do all this research and stuff, there's actually, and I will put the link in the description below for this, there is actually ROM sets for Recallbox. There's on the Recallbox wiki, there are ROM sets that it shows you how well they'll play on each one of the consoles on Recallbox. So, and I can tell you right now, especially for your handheld stuff, as you can see with these gold medals on here, the ROMs from No Intro, that's like the name of whoever ripped them, No Intro. These ones all work really well, and you'll also notice on several consoles, like there's Genesis, Master System, Intellivision, let's see here, I think NES, yep, I was going to say NES, they're good to go. Let's see here, SNES, Super Nintendo, yep, ready to go. I believe the controller literally recommend set for net play. Literally, like, the best set to use for most of the popular ones is going to be the ones from No Intro. I've used a lot of them. I've had a lot of success with them. I've also had some problems, though, as you can see with some of these other systems. They're not always the best. Let's see here. Does this have on here? I wonder. There's handhelds, computers. I'm looking for MAME here to see for like arcade if it has it on here, because I did have some trouble with arcade ROMs, and some of this, unfortunately, you know, we could do an entire video just on which ROM sets to use and which don't, and where are the pros and cons. We could do a whole thing about that. That's not the point of this video, and honestly, I'm probably not going to do one on that because this is a complicated. There it is, right there. Arcade. For arcade, the ROM set is different depending on the core you're using. Yeah, so, yeah, it gets complicated, guys. So I'm going to just link this here because there's even another link here for more information on arcade ROMs and another one for more information on arcade ROMs. So this link here, I'm just going to put this link in the description, and you'll have everything you need for finding what ROMs you need to run. So once again, you're just going to put the SD card back in, and that's going to take you to this share. And right here in ROMs, and there's other stuff too you can do. You can dive in as deep as you want on this thing, but this video here is just a video about getting yourselves up and started with enjoying some Raspberry Pi arcade action. So with that being said, we're going to go on to the next part of our video and actually take a look at Recallbox running.
Okay, so I'm just going to have this running in the background here for some backdrop, but let's talk about some other things we can do with Raspberry Pis and arcade machines and stuff, right? So obviously this one here, we're running Pi 4B, the B model being the most popular model of all Raspberry Pi series. It works great on this. The reason why I recommend, if you're doing a 4-controller setup, to do a Raspberry Pi Model B is you don't need to worry about any like USB hubs that are compatible with Raspberry Pi or anything like that, because there's 4 joystick ports. I mean, there's 4 USB ports. So literally I have everything I need to run this as an arcade machine, so I highly recommend it. I actually, at first, I have it here, The first rendition of this arcade machine ran on this guy, which is a Pi 400. If you've ever seen this guy, you know what it is, but it may look like a keyboard, but there's actually an entire Raspberry Pi built into it. Yes, these are dual HDMI outputs, power, USB, networking, there's where your micro SD goes, and even in Raspberry Pi fashion, let's see if I can get this out of here. I don't think I can without using like a screwdriver or something. And magically, I have a screwdriver in my hand now. So I'm just going to kind of gently pry this out here. This is one thing that was actually a little bit of a criticism of mine of this, is they make this so stinking difficult to get that out. There we go. So it actually has the GPIO header of the Raspberry Pi right on the back of this guy, which is pretty cool. So you can use this as like a standard computer almost, like plug a mouse in, ready to rock and roll, get a Bluetooth mouse, ready to rock and roll. And you still can do all of like your development and stuff on it, yet it's in, you know, really handy configuration to just sit at your desk. You just cover that guy back up and boom, ready to be used as a computer. Problem with this guy for this project was though, it only has 4 USB ports on it. And I discovered USB hubs that work well with both these controllers and Raspberry Pis are actually kind of finicky. We went through several USB hubs, so we found one that worked. It had a lot of issues. This was just not good for us. This might be good for you though, if you're just wanting to do like a little desktop arcade machine. This might be a great device. It's actually cheaper than the Pi 4 Model B, which is super weird to me. I'm assuming it's because of that lack of I/O on the back of it, but you gain the keyboard. So it all depends on your case use, but actually to build this, to build into the new one, this is what's awesome about Raspberry Pis. We literally pulled the SD card out of this one and we put it in that one and it worked right away. It was that simple. So once again, I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pi for arcade machines. Obviously some more newer heavy hitting stuff, like if you want to do PlayStation 2 emulation and stuff, this might struggle with that a little bit. So Raspberry Pi might not be the option for that. Okay guys, last part of the video here, we're going to talk about the software used. So once again, I'm using Recallbox, and I think I've shown you pretty accurately and adequately why I like Recallbox and why I use it. It runs on top of an emulation station, it's great. A lot of people love RetroPie. RetroPie is good, I just don't think it looks as pretty as this. Might there be some more options or something? I think that's actually debatable in my opinion. I really like Emulation Station though a lot for this purpose. I think where RetroPie shines, or Batasera, that's another one where they shine, are on devices and builds like these. This is my Piboy DMG. This actually is kind of funny. These two devices here, between this Piboy and this controller, there really is not much of a difference. It's just the way it's packaged. So we have this arcade machine packaged in this giant arcade 4-player controller. This one is just packaged inside of this Game Boy DMG sized case. It's running the same Raspberry Pi. This runs a Pi 4 Model B as well. So there's literally really no difference between the two. I could literally pop this SD card out and put it in this guy, that one in this guy, and they would work without needing to change any settings, any software. The only thing I have to do is reprogram the buttons, which is easy, and we'd be off to the races. So that's actually, once again, another cool reason why to use Raspberry Pis. I'm going to try to get this as close to the camera as I can though, because I want to show a reason why I use Recallbox. Can you see that on there? Okay, so I think we're on the camera now. So the reason why I use Recallbox, this is actually running Batasera. If you notice, it's ultra simple, and the reason why it is it did not install well. This has been my biggest complaint with Batasera is, and you'll find this on the forums and everything, and this is why I don't recommend Batasera. I'm going to be leaving it for this device. I'm actually considering trying Recallbox, even though this is a smaller form factor, just see how it runs on there. This is very similar to RetroPie actually, theming wise, the way it runs. But this is why I don't like Batasera though. It didn't even load correctly, which it can take a while. It can take a lot of work to get to load right. And then also, take a look at this nightmare. Do you notice something? You can't even see what I have selected. Once again, this is because it's a bad install of it, but this is literally an install from the ROM. Now, this ROM, or I should say SD card image, is a very large one, so I should give Batasera a fair chance and try it on a much smaller SD card image that doesn't have so many ROMs pre-installed on it. But yeah, I accidentally think I loaded the game. Yeah, some ultra generic Carlton Ink. Industry Ink, 1992. I actually don't even know what my hotkeys I have set up on this thing are. Oh, magic carpet. Okay, this is where we turn it off because I don't know how my shortcuts were. Anyways, as you can see, I didn't even know I had something selected, and we went immediately into something I didn't want to because of that. And that's not, to be fair, that's not Batasera in general. Batasera on a good install works right. But this is a great example of a failed SD card image transfer. And I've read lots of bugs about this with Batasera. So from me personally, TurnerTek does not endorse Batasera. If you want to play with probably one of the most customizable and best pre-packaged images, yes, Batasera is for you. If you want to bang your head for a while, like I've been on my Pi Boy here, if you want to do that, great. If you want the out of the box, looks beautiful, ready to be an arcade machine, Recallbox. If you want the most used and most community supported one, RetroPie. So once again, we're using Recallbox here, and that pretty much wraps it up here for our arcade machine. Some of the stuff too here, the lighted buttons, we actually chose a kit that specifically had lighted buttons. You don't need that. But for us, this was the best case scenario. Okay guys, that's it for today's video, but join us next time for some more Dell All-in-One shenanigans. That's right, the Dell All-in-One will be making its great return in part number 2 of the series, so you don't want to miss it. If you liked today's video, drop a like and subscribe. If you'd like to see more tech shenanigans involving Raspberry Pis or other technology, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can follow me and join me on Patreon, or you can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. I would like to thank Baker Marketing Firm again for sponsoring today's video. If your company or personal brand needs help in creating custom success, click on the link in the description below. If you support me on Patreon, I'll give you a shout over here as well. For more info on the Techverse, head over to MatthewTurner.co.